The devs themselves put up all the barriers in the game. Okay? Hear me out on this, chat. Let's bust out the drawing board here and, like, allow me. FGO was originally designed on the principle of play as you have the time, aka play at your convenience. Okay? And that mantra should ring true to a lot of people out there. And the reason why is because this mantra is the definition of the Japanese gamer. Okay? Japanese gamers are infamously mobile oriented. And the reason why they are is because they don't have all the time in the world to be sitting down in front of a PC like maybe us Americans or Europeans have. Instead, they are very much very busy individuals, which I feel on a spiritual level at this point. But to the extent that a lot of their quote unquote free time to game is going to be on the subway, on the bus, on the train, on their way to and from work. It's not going to be, you know, all hours of the day type thing. So play as you have the time has long been FGO's mantra for their design. And we know this because the developers have told us so. Like, literally, this is what Mr. 2 has told us in the past. Okay? However, and this is one of the big ways that you guys can try to codify how they think, and a little bit why sometimes if it seems like I'm pissed at a dev decision, it's because it's a betrayal of that phrase, of that play as you have the time concept. Originally, that's how they designed the game, but over the years, they have definitely put up certain barriers to stop players. And what they have done by doing that is they have hamstrung themselves. Because the devs, I think to some degree, the devs are always going to be worried about this and this. But that doesn't stand for what you think it does. That doesn't stand for public relations. It stands for player retention. They're always worried about money and player retention. And technically, player retention leads to money, so it is what it is. So they have tried to keep you around. They've tried to keep you playing. And that's where a lot of their more recent decisions start to come into sort of the light a little bit as you begin to realize that's what they're doing, is they're trying to keep player retention up. The issue at play is that straight up, I basically know that while that's their goal, it's actually costing them. Every barrier they put up to keep you around is a barrier that shackles you. I've talked about this concept before in live service games and why it's such a problem. Shackling a player to your game does not make a player happy. They hate it. It feels like a chore. It feels like work, a second job. It feels like homework if you're someone at school. So it's not a good thing to try to force your players to actively gate them in everything that they do. FGO has always had gating present within its design, but the gating was usually fairly soft gating. The only truly hard gating that existed in FGO were things like the player level cap, the timed release of events, and story, and that's really it. So it's like, that was the only actual hard gating. Everything else that existed in FGO was very much of a play as you want, do what you want. Now, you did have another set there that I forgot to mention, which was things like actual caps and limitations on resources, but I'm less convinced that that was done to hamstring the player and more like they just weren't sure about like where they should put a cap and what the allowance that they should, the leash basically that they should give players in that regard was originally, and over time they've expanded it, which tells me that they're a little bit, you know, less concerned about that. And we'll get back to that point because that's the point that we're headed towards in the end here. But the idea at play is that basically the devs want to keep you around. The problem with this is, as again I've mentioned, is that every time they put up these barriers, it doesn't make the players happy. And they've been doing that quite a bit here lately with things like storm pods, with things like the class score system and the coin system and stuff like that. You have all these barriers, and if you look, every single barrier they have put up basically since Annie 5, every single barrier they have put up has eventually come back down. I think they know. I think they're at that point now where they have realized finally the error of their ways. They have realized every single one of those things that they tried to do was just them pointing a gun at the player, but it misfiring and shooting themselves in the foot. They were trying to hold you back, but they realized in the end that all it was doing was making them bleed out. So the idea about this sort of thing is that as we look at each of those barriers that they put up, the coin system, for instance, now you can 120 somebody and get their pins reasonably unlocked even at NP1. So that was something you couldn't do originally. That barrier has completely come down to the point where, like I've said before, coins are almost a non-issue. They're almost dead to a degree. They're not entirely, but like, it's so much so that you don't have to worry about rolling additional copies of a unit, especially since now we can switch the appends around. Same thing with the storm pods. They tried to put storm pods in, and the devs admitted to this, that the entire reason that storm pods existed was that if they didn't put a limiter, that people would degen and complete it immediately. They would just go out there, hard farm, and complete class score, just like you see here with the grand system. And that's actually proof positive that we're right on this. They tried to limit people's capacity to do the class score system. They tried to limit people's capacity to do the coin system. And in the end, it just backfired in both cases. Nobody liked it. It literally just upset the players. It lost them some players over time, and it straight up did them no favors by actively trying to gate the community. Here's why that's wrong. Their idea is in preserving that player retention, that they can, again, get more money. They keep you around, they keep you in the ecosystem, they keep the player present. But as we mentioned before, it feels like a job, it feels like homework. Players don't like it. So the alternative is you don't put up a barrier, but then, you know, you heard the devs' concern. If we don't put up a barrier, the players will rush out and complete it. That's true. The error, the flaw in their thinking is that that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Because of two reasons. One, it's enthusiasm. It's desire to play the game, to get stuff done and accomplished and show off to their friends. It's going to, if anything, actually help promote the game and give other players goals to work towards. Yes, some players will get it done very quickly, but for every player that gets it done very quickly, 1,000 more see that player and go, man, I can't do that. That's amazing, but I'm going to get to it eventually. So it's actually a good thing in that regard. Simultaneously, yeah, you might lose that player. They might grind everything out, get bored, and say, to hell with this, I'm on to the next gacha game. Guess what? If you put artificial limitations on them, not only are they still going to do that, they're actually going to do it even faster. They're going to get way quicker bored with your new scenario, with your new system, by putting up those barriers to entry and not letting them play the game that they want to play. So you're actually costing yourself money, especially because in the past, the way these things worked is somebody would just go like, oh man, yeah, I'm just going to go out, I'm going to farm it, I'm going to degen it. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a whale over the years that was just like, lottos, what's that? I don't need to do a lotto, man. I'm just going to pop quartz and grind free quests. It is highly inefficient. I do not recommend that for anybody, really. But there's some at least interesting psychology there. And that's that what you're doing by putting up a barrier is you're telling that player, no, don't give me money. Wait. So if their goal is to keep the player around to increase money, it's not working. It's actually costing them, because the guy that's going to jump the gun and pop a ton of quartz, they're now not getting the money from him because he can't. So it's actually the backward way of doing things. And I think that's what the devs are finally realizing. The more barriers they put up, the more limitations they impose upon the player, the less the player can actually play their game, and the less the player actually wants to play their game. The more freedom they give the player, the more they turn them loose, it allows the player to play at their convenience, play as they have the time. The original design mantra of the game. So we've come full circle now, and you can see they've realized that with the grand system. They straight up told you on the live stream that you could complete it all in one day if you just popped apples. Some people are gonna do that. Some people aren't. And both approaches are fine. That's what I think the devs are realizing. They shouldn't be hamstringing you. They should just be letting you choose. Because if somebody wants to degen and pop the stuff, that's what they should do. And if anything, I can say that, you know, as a player, I appreciate that it was so easy to complete. But if anything, they maybe messed up because they probably should have made it a little bit harder and made it take a little bit more farming to do. And then they might have actually gotten quartz out of people instead of just apples that we're all sitting on. We're all sitting on tons of apples right now. And the reason we're all sitting on tons of apples is because the game has been gated for the past several years. So them relaxing storm pod costs and usage, them relaxing the coin system, and them giving us the grand system with no restrictions is a fundamental change to the way the developers are actually thinking. And it's a good thing. They can gate us with the release of the system and its various parts. They don't need to gate our ability to farm it. That actually increases player retention, not decreases it. So, again, that's just a story on how FGO is developed and how it's gone throughout the years. And now we're coming full circle back to the good mentality of development on the developer's side. Thus, everyone wins. Exactly. Oh, yeah. You have to have some barriers, right? You have to stop a player from just constant degenning everything. But the less barriers you have in your game, usually the better. Wild prediction here. For a new player starting the game next year, there won't really be any gate. There'll be storm pods, but the unlockers, you'll be able to acquire them all. But yeah, like the storm pods are going to be the only barrier. The storm pods are easier than ever. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I won't be surprised if they just do away with storm pods at all in the future. Or if they maybe expand the system as we head towards a part 3. But here's the other thing, chat. Narratively, how do you expand a storm pod system that deals with bleached earth nodes if narratively we solved the bleached earth? What I can see it doing, hear me out, chat. They upgrade storm pods, and storm pods become some new moniker. And instead of it being specific to bleached earth nodes, it becomes specific to some other thing. Can't stop thinking they're gonna snipe you. It happens anyways, chat. They steal all my ideas. No, I'm just kidding. Like I said, I don't think they actually, like, maybe the NA staff might occasionally watch, but I don't think the JP staff ever watches me. So them adopting my bond my bond overflow idea is not surprising in the slightest. It's like, it's what I would have done as a dev. To be honest, though, I do think they're going to just keep expanding class score. And I think that's what you're going to see is like, you're going to see that a lot of like enhancements from now on just flow through class score. Because class score, chat, hear me out again, okay? Class score is a scalable system. It's been designed that way from the get-go. So it's easy for them to just keep expanding it. They just keep tacking on more. But we'll see. Maybe they don't go with that way, right? Without storm pods, they go back to the blue apple issue where players just log in and make blue apples every day. That's fine. Hear me out. Blue apples were never the problem. The desire to play and the rewards given were. If you incentivize players to play your game, they will. If you incentivize them not to, they won't. It's that simple. Because I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if all you ever do is make blue apples in this game, congratulations, you have a ton of apples. But you're not playing the game. You're not upgrading your units. Like, I'll be honest with you, that's probably where some of the bitching from the grand system comes from. Like, oh, I didn't have the resources. They've been letting you know for months. You know what they say? Give players a chance and they'll optimize the fun out of the game. I mean, that's true. That's true because of exactly how I played every event after Storm Pods came out. And we still haven't gotten to that point, chat. You're about to get to that point on an A. And you're going to see exactly what I mean. So I really hope we get that like half cost quality of life at least. Because holy shit. Lazy people try hard at not try harding. The problem that they had, chat, is for a while there, and we're coming up to it on an A, there was a heavy incentive not to play the game. There was a heavy incentive to make blue apples. And so you guys can see, this is after I've, you know, popped enough to do like my 50-ish runs here. I ain't running out anytime soon. Like for the record, chat, at like peak efficiency in a lotto, it's about 1 AP bar per box. That is 1 AP bar. In fact, that is 457 1 AP bars. Just with my gold apples alone, I can complete a lotto to 500 boxes almost. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I were the devs and I wanted to kill blue apples, I'd start choking this. That'd be one hell of a way to kill blue apples real quick. Sorry, not kill, but like severely limit the refill capacity. Because right now, as it is, rainbow appling is dead to me. There's no point. 0 point, right? And by the way, chat, this is half an AP bar, so you can literally divide that in half. That's almost another 300. So, looking at this, there's probably, across everything that I have, there's probably a good like 800 boxes worth. Which means I'm almost done with a second lotto of 500 boxes. Stop giving the devs bad ideas, man. You're worse than them. No, I know how I would do it. If I were the devs and I was thinking like them and I had these problems, how would I solve it? I would just stop giving the players nearly as much apples. And in doing that, it wouldn't be immediate. And that's the deviousness of it. It would not be some apparent thing that everyone would scream about. You would just slowly tune it down. And then eventually people would notice and be like, hey, this is kind of fucked. Like, why aren't they giving us more apples? I'm running out. And then the devs would be sitting there and they'd be like, running out, you say? It's that simple. They're still giving golds regardless. Yeah, I mean, they can't completely limit them. They have to give some out, but... I feel like they're not giving enough, though. I don't know. I got to this literally by just stockpiling and being super efficient, so... I can't say they haven't given a lot out, right? I think lotto farmers would notice. Oh, hell yeah, we would. A lot of people won't rainbow refill anyway with no apples, only whales, I guess. True meat. However, think about this. I am a whale, and I am not rainbow appling now because of this. Uh-oh. That's a problem. That's a revenue stream cut off right there. And that's the point that I'm making. They don't have to kill it for everyone. They just have to kill it for the hyper farmers. And then they'll start getting money back from that. But you want to know a better idea to make money besides that, chat? Microtransactions. So here's how I would do it. I would release costumes that were live 2D for especially popular units. And I would charge like $15. And then I would still make all this money. And you're getting into annoying stages. You mean then I'm getting into rich? I'll see you guys next year as I take a round the world trip in my yacht. Yeah, like seriously, they shouldn't be worrying about getting monetization up from other things. They should just be going, hey, those other games are doing live 2D and skins really well. Maybe we should do that. They'd have content to sell for years. Yeah, it's almost like there's like over 400 units in the game. And to be fair, chat, they don't have to do it for all of them, right? Allow me. Y'all know I love doing this to you. So yeah, for those of you guys that have been around for a while, you know what's coming. There you go, chat. You're telling me you wouldn't pay $15 for this? What if this was also just like an animated background? Like for like the main page. And it's that simple. It really is. It's that simple. That's how you make more money. I'd pay $15 for a few favorites, right? And that's the exact way that you do it. You strategically pick units that are like, people want that. That's so evil. But that's how I would make more money. And to be fair, right? Like, at least on that's something that you could opt into. It would not be something that you would have to do. It could have like no gameplay impact, right? But that's really like all you have to do if you want FGO to make more money. Pure and simple. Chat is suggesting wallet draining ideas here. Oh, yeah. I could make FGO the most profitable game in the world again. Good luck beating the top gotchas at the moment, though. Nah, man. Release that to Twitter. Instant win. Instant W. All of a sudden, everyone goes, FGO got what? Yeah, it's that simple. Only 500 in stock. No. Okay. That's a bad idea. Don't do limitations and don't do NFTs. We all know how NFTs go. Like, that would actually just kill the game right off the rip. Because a little bit of monetization is amazing for the developers. A lot of monetization kills your game. Time limited skins sell no matter what. Oh yeah. The issue at play there is, would you rather sell 2 $500 skins or 500 like $10 skins? That's a great question. Yeah. Here's the deviousness, chat. If you price things cheaper, then it's the same way that like the MiHoYo style games work. If you make the barrier for entry still a monetary barrier, but if you make it a lot lower, you trick more people into becoming payers rather than free-to-players. It's like, oh man, I can't get mom to agree to allow me to borrow the credit card for $500. But I might I might be able to convince mom to let me have that $10 purchase. And I'm not saying this from the standpoint of a child, chat. I like FGO. It's that there's no stupid battle passes skins. No, hear me out, right? Like, I don't want a battle pass either. I think skins, I'm dead serious on this. I think skins are the actual, like, most fair way to do a monetization scheme in a game. Because skins are always in the eye of the beholder. If you don't like the unit, you're not gonna buy the skin. If you don't like the skin, you're not gonna buy the skin. If you don't have the money, you're still not gonna buy the skin, but you're still gonna be able to play the game to the same capacity that everyone else can. So skins are literally just a cosmetic flex, but they don't really hurt anyone, as long as they're priced right. And make people log in every day. Yeah, forming a habit and FOMO. Hey, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, right?